Morning, fellow zombies. Are we alive yet? Are we awake yet? Are we sleep deprived, emotionally screwed up, or is it the other way around? It's 4:33 in the morning, West Coast time for Saturday, the 9th of March, 2024. You zombie, Weaver, Geneseo, Rosamond, California. Yeah, something popped on my radar on YouTube. Kudos to Mari Films. Kudos to Artist in Recovery and to Bo the Fifth Column. Uh, Bo and Artist, we gotta talk again, guys. I'm wondering how come you guys haven't picked up on this on the radar for the past, 2 or 3 months already. Supreme Court of the United States is coming up with a ruling, or actually, I'm not quite sure if they're going to be hearing this as a constitutional argument or not, considering about our homelessness situation going on. Give me one quick second. Sorry about that. I had to do a little bit of research. Something popped up on my screen. 5-day-old article on, I'd say it, but Al Jazeera English. Somehow, listening to this seems to be quote unquote un American, and yet sometimes a few articles will pop on the radar. It'll catch my attention that the public had just been oblivious to one way or another. And they're talking about SCOTUS trying to rule, or if they are, on a situation on an appellate. What I'm trying to get at is Grants Pass, Oregon had this city ordinance, and they were trying to deny homelessness in there by ruling that it's illegal as hell. But the problem is, they can slam so many ordinances and putting people in jail, but they can't solve the damn problem. And somehow or another, there was a court case being brought up by defendants saying that doing this to the homeless is cruel and unusual punishment. So it went over to the appellate, and I guess somehow the appellate is made a decision that the group didn't like, so they bumped it up to the Supreme Court of the United States. And a couple of months ago, um, Rolling Stone magazine popped out the information regarding the homeless on the war on homelessness, basically. They were saying about over 250,000, and maybe more than that, maybe 500,000 in the United States people being homeless, and how some of the states and cities are treating them as such. Los Angeles, they were still trying to get, before we had a mayor shift, a program going on to treat the homeless not as um, criminals. There are certain times in the year when the weather gets really cold that we have to have shelters open up to have the homeless stay in there until the temperature dies down a bit. We have the same thing over here, but we don't have the shelters. People have to find warmth whatever they can. There have been tents in different areas in my own little town of Rosamond, California. We're in Kern County. Kern doesn't usually have a homeless program. They usually try to leave them alone mostly. Sometimes, if the homeowners or the merchants get a little upset, if the homeless are being more than a nuisance, they'll tell them to move on. But there's really no place for them to move out here in Rosamond. The same thing in Los Angeles. Mayor Bass tried to get programs going, and her administration's getting hot foot on this one from some coalitions, saying that they're not doing enough, or else they shouldn't be doing anything. They want the homeless to be moved to another location, but Mayor Bass was working with with hotels and motels to be put on a temporary basis for the homeless to stay there for a short time till there's more permanent housing built. The problem is getting enough homes, getting enough buildings for the homelessness. It's always been a constant struggle when you're on the street for survival. Unless you've been homeless, you probably won't understand what the hell I'm talking about. If you've been out there, you probably understand that. There are many factors that put you out there and keep you out there. And without resources to keep you going, it's a day by day, sometimes a minute by minute struggle of where you're living at, and if you're going to be living or surviving, or just trying to stay out of people's way left and right. It's not that easy in a city. Even in suburban areas like the San Fernando Valley, it's not that easy. Maybe in the hillsides, if you're lucky enough, but even the hillsides are getting stacked with a lot of housing out there. There's just not that much room out there. There's not that much abandoned buildings out there. There's a lot of factors concerning about homelessness. How you getting that in the first place? How rising housing prices, uh, rising rents, jobs on the line, health considerations, personal situations, whatever it may be. You'll wake up one day and you'll see sheriff's department coming over here and throwing your ass out for whatever reason. Maybe eminent domain. Maybe the landlord got sick and tired of you giving too many excuses for the rent and out you go. Maybe your potential drug problem has gotten worse and worse and out you go. Maybe there's other factors. Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of them out there. But now you're homeless. Barely had enough time to get stuff packed up and left, or maybe you left voluntarily. I can attest to this. Two sides of it. Long time ago in the 80s, when my brother's drug and alcohol use got bad, I mean royally bad, that my mom and I decided to toss my brother out, and we thought that was it. But then we were angry and heated in the heat of the moment. Didn't think. We didn't care at that moment when it came. We wanted the problem gone, so we got rid of him, and that was the problem, right? So about nearly 2 months, 2 to 3 months living on the streets, comes back as a skeleton. We took him in. Guardedly, but we took him in. Gave him a chance to recover. And he did. 32 years clean and sober. Passed away back in September 8th, 2018. Managed to earn trust and faith. Took him a hell of a long while, but he got it and built more on it. I mean, that was a success story of a sort. But he damn near died out there. For one individual case. What about the other cases? If you happen to go to food giveaway places uh, and you go in there on a constant basis, you'll see regulars. People who have less income to get enough to eat for maybe a week or two. You're barely getting enough from the food giveaway places for the week or two, but then again, you had to come back in another month to get another week's worth of food. Out here in the Antelope Valley, we have two major cities, Lancaster and Palmdale, fighting it out with both county and other people of trying to keep their cities pristine away from the homelessness problems. But the thing is, it's still out there within the city boundaries and also in the county boundaries outside of the city generalized area. They try to come up with homeless programs to alleviate the issue one way or another. Sometimes vouchers for temporary housing, but there's not that much housing out here left. If some of these people are without work, you know, there's without work, and they're still stuck where they're trying to do, scrounging for money, living near or living at homeless, what was it, at the air freeways, freeways, on ramp, the off ramp areas, the off ramp areas. I'd seen some of the encampments while taking a bus from college campus to home, right by the 14 freeway. It'd be about K K Avenue, and I'll see encampments in the area. City of Lancaster doesn't put up the voucher programs as much. They don't have that much income coming in, resources coming in to do such a thing. They keep using and utilizing the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to keep pushing the homelessness from one area to another area. But there had been county ordinances initiated a few decades ago to allow people to do camping on public property without any reprisal or recrimination. I'd seen some of those encampments sometimes, and if you happen to go to the library early in the morning just to utilize their services over there, you'd see that the homelessness would be camped in the area and also pushed out when it comes down for opening time of the library. But they want to make sure that the public area, actually the public access to the library, the entrance, is cleared out. At least that area. Camping along the railway areas is another area, but they're considered private property by the railroad company, and sometimes they'd have an issue over it. Argue with the county and the cities to move the populations, but where the hell are they going to go? We don't have the housing programs out here like they're trying to initiate out in Los Angeles. So seeing this article of Al Jazeera regarding the homelessness, it's getting me thinking these days about this one because I had been on both sides of the track. I had kicked my brother out and seen him come back, but I've also been out there being because I was kicked out there as well with my brother years later. And for about a month, we lived in a motel with a lot of donations helping us out, but sometimes not as much. But just barely enough to cover the rent and get us some food. You only live so much on charity of kindness until your other income comes in. My brother had disability coming in, and we depended upon that disability for survival, especially when it came down for the rent. Beyond that, we had to go to food giveaway places in town to get our food going. You know, survival, not to mention our dogs. Yeah, we had a couple of dogs during that time. We had just enough kibble to last for about a month or maybe two until the disability came in and we were actually able to get another bag of dog food for them, or maybe a can or two. I'm always worried about my own end of being homeless. I'm worried about whether or not if I've actually dissatisfied management one way or another. I have to keep this place livable. It's one of the requirements, mandatory requirements in the leasing. If I piss them off on that one, then I am breaking lease, and they have the absolute right of kicking me out, according to lease, according to California law. Sometimes you really have to, you really have to do these things. That's all the time you have to do these things, actually. If you don't do them, you're out. So I'm facing that almost every single day. I have to keep that in mind. As long as I'm not pissing off management in one form or another, I'm okay for right now. But I know what the alternative is, and I've been there before. I've had sheriff's department escort me out with or without family. Well, actually, with family. As for myself, it's not fun having stuff locked up and away from you, especially when they throw you out and you got nothing else with you. I mean, if they give you about 5 minutes, doesn't give me enough time to pack up shit, grab a coat, ID, and that's about it. And even a dog. I haven't come to that point yet. I'm working hard not to get to that point. But imagine being in Grants Pass, Oregon on this one, where it's considered and being argued that being homelessness and is considered a cardinal sin against the town. Ordinance like crazy up to yin yang on this one. You'll get thrown in jail because you're homeless, because you have no place to go on the streets. And some of the advocates are arguing that this is cruel and unusual punishment. This is against the U.S. Constitution. An argument is coming, hopefully, before the Supreme Court on this one, of it being illegal as hell. They're arguing under the Eighth Amendment. I can just try. Excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishment. Forcing people to be incarcerated because they were homeless. You toss them out after the incarceration, they're still homeless. What are you going to do? Put them back in jail again? It's going to be affecting, that kind of decision is going to be affecting everybody across the board in the United States on this one. That includes the Aleutians and Alaska and also Hawaii and the U.S. territories. This is going to be a broad effect on this one. I haven't heard anything coming down the pipeline over the past few months on this one. I haven't. If the ruling comes down and it's considered cruel and unusual punishment for making homelessness an illegal crime, the cities are forced, and they're going to have to work with developers at this point over here to find the land, to find the money, in order to get the housing or building secured for the homelessness, for them to temporarily live in there, or find permanent, well, maybe to a point where they're going to be finding permanent housing for themselves. It's hard as hell when you're limited in space to find housing that's affordable. The problem is that we have rents that are going up. We have rents that are going skyrocketing. We have corporations wanting more money at this point over here for whatever reasons. Even low-income places like this, the rents are skyrocketing. Compared to out beyond it, we're still on the low end. It's due to how much we've got coming in for income that they start judging it on. There's a percentage somehow. And maybe other factors as well. I'm grateful for the roof over the head. Don't get me wrong. But I know eventually one of these here days that's going to change. That scares the hell out of me. Being a lifer, in a rental market, going from place to place to place. There was never enough. There was never enough opportunity for me to save enough money to even try to secure a loan, let alone permanent housing for myself. I never considered it. I mean, I did once, but because I got scammed out of the damn thing with my brother regarding the rental and leasing agreements and anything else that they're throwing at us, we did a stupid act, and it costed us. It cost us the furniture we had, clothing we had. We had to scrounge and save up for rental storages to store whatever we could. And then we screwed up on that one by losing that storage. There goes the rest of our stuff. So I have what's left. I'm trying to make do with what I've got right now. I'm okay. Don't worry about that. I'm okay on that one. And regarding food situation, I'm okay on that too. So I'm not starving. I am worried about prices going up regarding utility. Season's coming up for summertime, so I have to use less and less electricity to keep this place powered and cool during the summertime. So it's going to be heat. There's going to be prices going up, and I've got to start sweating it out on the pennies on this one here. So there's almost no opportunity for me to save for looking for permanent housing anywhere else. This is it for right now. This is temporary. So I have to be concerned about that one. Every time I keep seeing about the homeless situation uh, popping up in the news, I'm aware of it. I'm trying to be more and more aware of it. We hardly hear about that happening here in Roseman, but not that much community news passes around except through social media, and they don't even talk about it as much. Except maybe somebody harassing them or one way or another. But personally, I've seen it out here. I've seen it in a few encampments, and as long as they're not bothering anybody, and they're still trying to search for help on this one. It is disturbing enough as it is because I'm looking at myself at those days. So yeah, I feel for the guys. But that's not enough. We need more resources, and we just don't have them. It's either money or locations. If it's locations, do we have enough buildings being built over here? There were rumors that we had another low income housing project happening out here in the town. It was just rumors. I hadn't seen it. It's supposed to be single homes. I hadn't seen it. I haven't even heard of it. Nobody's posted pictures or passed up any news concerning about it. So it's just all gossip. It's bad enough when you got a company that's supposed to be coming out here and people keep passing off that damn rumor. But this is going to be affecting us if SCOTUS actually picks up on it and decides to run with this. Is homelessness considered a violation of the Eighth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution? A violation of our civil rights for cruel and unusual punishment? Is it? Can a city prosecute you, jail you for being homeless? Can they fine you excessively for being homeless? This will force the situation, this will force cities and counties to look at this really seriously, whether or not they've actually got a game plan for this or not. Can they work with their businesses and residents out there? Can they work with them to secure places for people to go to, temporary as it may be, almost up to permanent? Location, money, NIMBY. They were screaming about this one in Lancaster for a long while since I got out here to the Antelope Valley. One of the mayors, who still seems to be super lifer in this place until his term runs out, had been a constant pain in the ass to the homeless. The homeless kept complaining about how cruel and unusual the city mayor of Lancaster has still been to the homeless by having the police, or actually having the local sheriff's department harass them left and right. What I've heard, that's what I've heard from them. Of course, the city denies it. They don't want the homeless. They don't know how to deal with the homeless. They don't want to deal with the homeless. It's NIMBY for them. Same thing like Palmdale, but the problem is Palmdale doesn't have that much resources for them. Oh, they'll have a county facility for medical. That's about it. But not that great for anybody anyway. That's another story on that one to talk about. Healthcare. When I was out there, damn bugs. Get out of here. I'm still dealing with bug war. I'm still dealing with bug war. Anyway, when I was going through the food giveaways, I'd talk to people. Low income, homeless. Didn't matter who they were. They were still people. I'd hear the stories from them. I'd hear about LA County Sheriff harassing people left and right. In the city borders and outside the city borders. There had been talk that the city of Los Angeles was, or the county of Los Angeles, even both, were shoving homeless into the Metrolink stations, putting them on the trains and sending them out. Lancaster would be complaining to the county board of supervisors on that on a constant basis. There'd been a scuffle on that. Of course, they kept it off the radar. They kept it off the press, but this was either gossip or it was actually real, and the press just didn't want to pick up on it. And if they did, not much of a ripple that would happen in the news in the Southland regarding it. So it was just basically push comes to shove. Not to mention that NIMBY didn't want the publicity going on. The NIMBY meaning not in my backyard. This place would be considered, this complex and the other sister complex would be considered NIMBY. In our surrounding area of Roseman, California, and Kern County, we have suburban communities sprawled in clumps that we have. Housing for Edwards Air Force Base or for anybody else, but mostly for Edwards. And they wanted to have the low income out here for whatever reason. I never understood the reason. I never even heard of the reason why. But grateful that we still have this place here. People are here living since the birthplace of this complex, maybe about 10, 15 years. And I've met a few neighbors who are lifers in this place. As long as we keep the place clean and neat somewhat, washed down as much as we can, it's still a nice place to be, to a point. We had local scuffles, maybe. Maybe we had gang members coming in and tagging up areas outside, but they hadn't bothered to tag anything inside. They tried to acquire an empty place or two, or pretend to be something else that they weren't. But they were gotten rid of. So they're still trying to keep this place a decent place to live. But the waiting list is long. The waiting list is long. Even to move into another apartment, maybe a one bedroom, from a two bedroom to one bedroom, if one did that. The waiting list is long because we've got new people coming in, and the ones that have been on a list longer, if they hadn't gotten other places, I mean, people will just be shuffled on there until you get another place open up, and then we got new neighbors coming in. We haven't seen anything concerning about people getting shoved out by evictions yet. And yeah, that still scares the hell out of me. So I don't know how it is with you guys. To the two guys I'm going to be addressing is definitely to Bo of the Fifth Column, but also to Artists in Recovery. Because Bo of the Fifth Column does the national stuff. He likes to pick up these weird ass national shit that he talks about, and people are like, "Huh?" I have to scramble every time he keeps coming up with some weird ass shit he's talking about, and I have to see whether or not he's legitimate or not, and I have to do a background check to see whether or not he's got this accurate enough. He likes to keep his news articles about 7 to 8 minutes, maybe 12 if he's lucky enough. Then I'm thinking, it's not deep enough. It's not in depth enough. I've seen the independents go crazy over this one, but always subjecting their personal opinions. But then again, I do mine too. Except I'm not considered news. I'll see some of the news, I'll talk about it, but I'm not news. Maybe I'm an opinion columnist, who knows? But I haven't considered myself as such. So after I get my video processed here, I'll slam some of the links in there in the description areas, just so people can understand where the hell I'm dealing with and talking about here, because this is important. This will be affecting these guys if they're not careful enough. If they have situations happening in their territory, within their city, within their county, that's going to be determining their place of residence, residential status at this point over here. Ugh. The only thing I'm going to say is oy vey at that point. Until there.